everybody, Backyard Bullion here. Welcome to episode 102 of In Focus Friday. Now, last week we had a look at the Austrian gold ducats. We had a 4 ducat and a 1 ducat. The 4 ducat having that kind of shiny proof background, incredibly thin coin, and the little 1 ducat with a bit more of a matte finish style coin. And interestingly enough, a lot of you preferred the little 1 ducat coin over that bigger one. But if you haven't seen it and you'd like to form your own opinion, then please do go have a look. The link, as always, is down in the description below. This week we're going to be looking at the St. Helena trade dollar. It was a landslide winner in the voting. Thank you for voting if you did, by the way. The Mermaid and the Canadian Silver Saver leaf, Maple Leaf, will be returning at the end of this episode with, in fact, 2 new additional items for you to cast your vote on. So make sure you stick around and cast that vote for what you want to see next time. But today we're going to be looking at this St. Helena trade dollar, and this is yet another coin that's come out this year that pays homage to that old kind of British trade dollar, which was a staple form of currency in the Far East in the sort of 1800s. And I'd love to know what you think between these two. You know, which one of these two is your favourite? Let's have a quick look and compare and contrast the two of them together. I personally think they are both excellent coins. They both really are amazing, and they both are picks for 2018 for me. Certainly the Oriental Border Britannia. You know that I have been talking a lot about this already this year. I think it's a really, really great coin to pick up. But I also think that this St. Helena trade dollar is equally as good, if not potentially better, for a number of different reasons, including mintage and various other things. But we'll talk about that in a moment when we focus on it. But I'd love to know your opinion on the two coins side by side, which you prefer. I think there's elements of both which I like over the other, and if you actually merge the two coins together, if you took elements of both designs and put them all together, I think you'd end up with an absolutely stonkingly good coin. The bits that spring to mind for me are, I prefer the outer border on the Oriental Border Britannia to the St. Helena trade dollar, and I prefer the Britannia on the trade dollar here than I do on the Oriental Border Britannia. So yeah, lots of very interesting, of course the back as well. You know, we've got the regular sort of royal mint back with that swirly pattern, and if I just find the other half of the capsule, we've just got the sort of motif carried over onto this side with Queenie. But we'll have a look at all of that in more detail in a moment. So love to know your thoughts. Which do you prefer? Which is your favourite out of the two? So to help you make that decision, let's have a look at this all nice and close to the camera in glorious 4K. And this is one of the lovely reasons why I got one of these 4K cameras, so that we could have a really exquisite look at these coins up close and personal. Now, St. Helena. What is St. Helena? So first of all, you probably won't see it on that side. It's on the opposite side of the coin. And you can see here that it says St. Helena. Now, St. Helena is a tiny, tiny little island in the middle of the South Atlantic, and it is a British Crown dependency, British territory. I guess you could call it part of our empire still. It's one of our colonies. It's been formally sort of included in the kind of British Empire, I suppose you can call it, for a very long time. In fact, it was one of the very first colonies outside of North America and the Caribbean. So it's been in British hands, so to speak, since the late 1500s, early 1600s, and it's a really, it's a very, very remote island, but it does have a lot of very significant history behind it. First of all, through the East India Trading Company, and you can see here this homage to that there. It says East India Company. So the East India Company was given a royal charter to basically govern St. Helena on its own. I can't remember the exact date of it. I mean, I say I can't remember. I've done a bit of Wikipedia research and I can't remember off the top of my head. But it had a royal charter, I think from the mid-1600s, all the way up to sort of 1815 or so, when, in fact, Napoleon came to his retirement on the island. And I say retirement, it was a forced retirement by the British Empire. Rather than putting Napoleon to death or to put him on trial for war crimes or whatever it might have been, they exiled him to St. Helena so that he could not be a martyr and he could not be a flag for which the French Revolution could get behind. So that's, it's fascinating that this tiny little island has got so much history behind it. Obviously with the East India Company, everybody knows the East India Company, played a huge role, and St. Helena itself played a huge role in terms of getting goods to and from India and China all the way through those years. It was that stop-off point. It was one of the many stop-off points along the way. I think we had sort of Mauritius. In fact, at one point, the governor of St. Helena, I read here, was considering relocating the entire island's population to Mauritius because there were so many issues on the island with disease and deforestation and just general sustainability, because it is an incredibly harsh environment. It's so remote, so isolated, and so out there in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. But anyway, that's a little bit of history about St. Helena. It's a fascinating little kind of island nation. It's really amazing, actually, if you think about it. And even to this day, it's populated. There's about 4,000 people that live on the island and work on the island, and you can actually visit it. I think they've got commercial flights there, but it used to be that you could only get a ship there, and there was only a ship once every month or something, I believe. But you can actually, I think, get flights there now. Probably very expensive commercial flights, but you could theoretically go there on a holiday, which is quite interesting. So yeah, very interesting in its own right for it being a little tiny island in the middle of the Pacific, South Atlantic. I start to ramble, and when I ramble, my brain does not work. It's in the South Atlantic Ocean, not the Pacific. Anyway, I highly recommend you go and have a look on a map because it's very, very cool indeed. Now, to the actual specifications of the coin itself. It's a 1 ounce silver coin, as you can see. It has got a mintage of 10,000, which is a really tiny mintage for a coin like this, which is absolutely great. It's got a pretty hefty premium. It was around about £20, I think, or something like that, or maybe a little bit more. I can't remember off the top of my head. And that obviously is going to impact on whether it's going to be a very kind of high-yielding coin in the future. But with a mintage of 10,000, they are going to be pretty scarce, and that will have quite a good impact. Just look at the detail on Britannia, though, herself. Really, really good and regal looking. It's almost like she's standing on St. Helena's shores and looking at that ship coming by. Very, very cool indeed. Now, I don't know the mint that has made this coin. It says unknown on the specifications that I'm looking at through actually AppMax's website. But if anybody else knows where it was produced, how it was produced, by what mint, that would be very helpful indeed to share with us. Now, one thing that I really like about this, and certainly when you compare it with the Oriental Border Britannia that we have here, is that they've carried over that Oriental border theme and that trade dollar theme onto the Queen's head side. So obviously it's a different portrait of the Queen here, as you can see. I don't know which one I prefer. I think I quite like the one on the left, the St. Helena one, in terms of the portrait. I like the radial design on this. Again, if you took elements of the Oriental Border Britannia and you put them onto this coin, we'd have the best coin all told. But there is Queenie looking fit as a fiddle for her age. And of course we've got some of the trade dollar design around the rim, which is really nice to see. It's often that you get, like every other coin like this Oriental Border Britannia, a boring Queen's head side, so it is good to see the design come up here. And of course, there you go, it's £1 2018 St. Helena. Now, one thing that's interesting is, and I don't know the answer to this, so any of you keen people out there who know about capital gains tax and the like, I don't think this is legal tender and counts towards your capital gains tax allowance. Of course, it does say £1, and St. Helena is a, it's a crown dependency. It's part of the kind of British empire, so to speak, or the British sort of overseas territories. So whether that means this is capital gains tax exempt, I don't know. It's probably not, so I wouldn't count on it. And of course, with there only being 10,000 out there, it's unlikely that somebody's going to have hundreds or thousands of these in their own stack to worry about that. But you never know. So if you know the answer to that question, then please do let me know. Now, when I purchased it, it came supplied in this capsule, which is a very nice capsule. Although I have to say, I do hate these capsules somewhat because they're slightly domed. You probably can't see it here on the camera, but if I put it on the table, you can see that they kind of spin. And that means they've got a little bit of a dome, which of course is really annoying because it means they don't stack on top of each other very easily. And if you have 5 or 6 of them, they'll topple over after about the 6th one. It's the same with the pandas, very annoying. But anyway, there is the trade dollar. I'd love to know your opinions on it. Do share them down in the comment section, whether you think it's a hot coin or not. Now, returning items from last week, we have the Fiji Rising Mermaid, which will look very good under camera, and I'm surprised that didn't get more votes than it did last week. We have the Canadian Silver Saver Maple Leaf from my good friend over in Canada. And then we have a 2-for-1 offer. If you would like to see both of these coins compared and contrasted next to each other, we've got 2 seahorse coins to share with you guys that I've just recently picked up. And they're very interesting in their own right. So if you'd like to see those, please do comment down below. Every vote does count. Sometimes the votes are incredibly close. I personally don't know which is going to win this week, so make sure you vote if you want to see something in particular. Otherwise, if you like this video, please put a thumbs up on it and share it around on your social media. That would be very helpful for everything that I do here on my channel to help continue to grow it. And if you would like to see more episodes of In Focus Friday, I have, of course, 101 other episodes down in the playlist below. And if you want to see future ones, hit the subscribe button. And if you want to get notifications, hit the alarm bell as well. Otherwise, have a fantastic weekend ahead. Thank you so much for watching, and please make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe for more.